It begins with something so small you might miss it if you weren't paying attention. 1 second, you're standing at your normal height, grounded in a world built precisely for your scale. The next second, you've grown by 1 centimeter. Nothing dramatic. No cracking bones, no flashing lights. Just a subtle shift. Your clothes feel slightly tighter. The floor feels just a little closer to your feet in a strange, unfamiliar way. Then another second passes. Another centimeter. And another. Slowly, steadily, your body begins a transformation that won't stop. Within the first minute, the change becomes undeniable. 60 seconds means 60 centimeters, almost 2 feet of growth. The room you're in begins to feel smaller, more confined. The ceiling that once hovered safely above you now threatens to press down against your head. You instinctively adjust your posture, but there's no real way to compensate. Your limbs feel heavier, your joints strained under a weight they weren't designed to carry. It's not just your height increasing. Your entire mass is growing with it. You can feel it in your knees, in your spine, in the subtle tremor of the ground beneath your feet. By the 15-minute mark, you've crossed into something entirely different. At over 10 meters tall, you're no longer just a person. You're a structure, roughly the height of a 3-story building. You don't fit indoors anymore. The house around you becomes an obstacle rather than a shelter. Walls crack as you shift. The ceiling doesn't just touch your head, you break through it. Debris falls around you as you're forced to step outside. Not out of curiosity, but necessity. And when you do, the outside world reacts. Your footsteps land with a force that wasn't there before. Pavement fractures. Cars dent under accidental pressure. You weigh nearly a ton now, and every movement carries consequences. In reality, this is where everything should end. The square cube law would make survival impossible. As you grow taller, your volume and therefore your weight increases much faster. Bones would shatter under the strain. Muscles would fail. Your body would overheat from the sheer number of cells generating energy. But this scenario doesn't follow those rules. For the sake of the journey, physics steps aside, and your growth continues unchecked. A couple of hours pass, and now you stand at around 90 meters tall, comparable to the Statue of Liberty. From this height, the world transforms into something unrecognizable. Streets become thin lines etched into the ground. Cars look like toys scattered across a tabletop. People, if you can even see them, are tiny moving dots. But the danger you pose is enormous. One misplaced step could flatten a bus. A slight shift of your weight could crack the foundation of buildings. Even if you mean no harm, your existence alone becomes a threat. Panic spreads below. Sirens wail. Helicopters circle overhead, observing, assessing, unsure whether you are a disaster or something worse. By the 9-hour mark, you reach the height of the Eiffel Tower over 300 meters tall. At this scale, movement takes on an entirely new meaning. Your stride covers distances that once required minutes or hours. Walking feels like gliding across landscapes. You could cross entire cities in moments, countries in hours. If you were to run, your speed would rival that of high-speed vehicles. The earth beneath you is no longer something you navigate carefully. It's something you traverse effortlessly, but with size comes need. Your body demands energy on a scale that's almost impossible to comprehend. Ordinary food becomes meaningless. A full meal wouldn't even register. Even the largest creatures on Earth, like the blue whale, would barely serve as a snack. Feeding yourself becomes an unsolvable problem. But like the other biological limitations, it's something we set aside, because your growth isn't slowing down. After about 30 hours, you surpass 1,000 meters in height. You are now taller than the Burj Khalifa, the tallest structure humanity has ever built. At this point, skyscrapers no longer define scale. You do. The tallest buildings barely reach your knees. The horizon itself begins to curve ever so slightly beneath your gaze. You are no longer part of the human world. Years pass. decades. After 11 years of constant growth, you reach 3,470 kilometers, roughly the diameter of the moon. You are no longer just large. You are comparable to celestial bodies. Your presence begins to feel less like an object in space, something with mass, with influence. At 40 years, you reach 12,742 kilometers, matching the size of Earth itself. At this point, the concept of standing on Earth becomes meaningless. You no longer fit on its surface. Your body spans continents. Oceans feel shallow beneath you. Gravity itself begins to respond to your presence. In a realistic universe, you would collapse into a sphere under your own gravitational pull, becoming something more like a fleshy planet. But here, you retain your human form, a planet-sized figure existing beyond natural law. Centuries pass, and your growth carries you beyond planets. At 444 years, you surpass Jupiter, becoming larger than any world in our solar system. Your gravitational influence begins to that of the sun objects in space. Asteroids, moons, even planets start to respond to you. The solar system itself begins to change subtly at first, then dramatically. After 1,220 years, you reach 384,400 kilometers, the distance between Earth and the moon. At this moment, you could stand on Earth and touch the moon with your head. You become a bridge between two celestial bodies, connecting them in a way that was never meant to be possible. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend, yet you continue to grow beyond it. Millennia stretch into millions of years. You expand to rival stars, reaching sizes comparable to giants like Uy Scuti. At this point, your perception of time changes. Seconds and minutes lose meaning. Even years feel insignificant. Your existence is measured in epochs, in vast stretches of time that dwarf human history. Eventually, you grow to span entire star systems, then galaxies. You reach the scale of the Milky Way, stretching across distances that contain billions of stars. These stars are no longer distant points of light. They exist within the space you occupy. You are no longer observing the universe. You are embedded within it, and still you grow. After unimaginable spans of time, billions, then trillions of years, you approach the ultimate limit, the observable universe. At 93 billion light-years tall, you encompass everything that can be seen, everything that can be measured. Your existence defines scale itself. Space bends around you. Time stretches in your presence. By this point, the universe you once knew is gone. Stars have burned out. Galaxies have drifted apart. Matter itself has begun to decay. Yet you remain, continuing your silent expansion through a cosmos that has grown cold and empty. What began as a single centimeter of growth has turned into something infinite. You are no longer human, not even close. You are not a standing within the universe. You are something that has become indistinguishable from it. And the most unsettling part? You never stopped growing. So the question isn't just, what if you kept growing? It's this: at what point do you stop being human and become the universe itself? If this kind of mind-bending journey pulled you in, imagine what comes next. Subscribe Edge of Reality now.